Hey there, this is Seth, and in this video I'm going to give you a really quick overview of what a promissory note is and how you can put one together really quickly if that's something you need to do. A promissory note is a type of lending instrument that has been used for centuries. And essentially what this is just a simple document that lays out the terms and conditions between a borrower and a lender. And it basically just explains that there is a set amount of money that the borrower owes to the lender, and it usually details any interest payments that are included with that. And promissory notes can be set up in all kinds of different ways. You can set them up with balloon payments, so basically there's interest-only payments for a certain amount of time, and then boom, the entire balance is paid off. Or you can set it up with what's called straight-line amortization, which is basically just a fixed payment for the life of the loan. And then there isn't a balloon payment at the end. And a lot of times, promissory notes are used in conjunction with real estate transactions, whether you're getting a bank loan or a mortgage or a deed of trust. A promissory note is part of the documentation that spells out the terms of those payments between the borrower and the lender. Now, it's important to point out that the promissory note is a different thing than a mortgage. And a promissory note is a different thing than the deed of trust. In those kinds of real estate transactions, the mortgage is what actually secures the property, so that's what gives the lender the right to go in and take that property back if the borrower ever stops paying. Whereas the note simply spells out the obligation to pay. So a lot of times the information that's baked into the note won't necessarily be in the collateral instrument, and the information baked into the collateral instrument won't necessarily be in the promissory note. Sometimes you'll see some crossover there, but that's not necessarily always the case. Now, promissory notes, of course, are not just limited to real estate transactions. These are used between businesses, governments, individuals, all kinds of different situations where one party owes money to another party, whether it's one government that's lending another government $1 trillion, or if it's parents lending their child $1,000 and they want to make sure they get paid back. If there is a set amount of money that's being lent from one party to the other, and the lender is actually expecting to get paid back at a certain point of time with a certain amount of interest at certain intervals, it's a really good idea to create a note just so there is no confusion about what's going on, and it's actually something that can legally back up the lender if the borrower ever stops paying. It's a written record of the borrower's obligation to pay. So if you're looking for a note template, there's all kinds of versions out there. Some of them are very, very simple, like one-page documents. Others can be ridiculously complicated. But the one that I want to show you right here is really easy to fill out. It's with a website called RocketLawyer. And the reason I like RocketLawyer is because they give you a very simple questionnaire where you just enter in all the basic information that pertains to your situation, and it will create the entire document for you. So it kind of helps you make sure you don't miss any items or leave anything blank that should be filled in. And I don't want to tell you this the same as getting a lawyer to do it for you, because it's not. But if you're intent on doing this yourself and you're willing to take any risks inherent in that, I think RocketLawyer is a great way to go. So if you got a few minutes, I'm going to take you through the RocketLawyer website and just show you exactly how to fill it out just for a hypothetical situation. And you can see what I mean, and you'll kind of get an idea for just how easy it is. So follow along and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, so I'm going to include a link beneath this video that links directly to this exact page that you're seeing right now. So if you just click on that, it'll bring you right here. And all you got to do to get started on your promissory note is just start by selecting whatever state you're in. So we would just go ahead, I guess in this case, we'll do California in this example. And then the first thing you'll see here is you need to enter in the loan amount and the start date. So in this hypothetical example, I'm just going to put a loan amount of $20,000. And for the start date, we'll put January 1, 2017. And then who is borrowing the money? We're going to say that this is between two people, but if you wanted to do it between businesses, you could obviously do that too. And in this example, I'm going to say that I am the lender, and this other person will say his name is John Smith. He is the borrower. So we'll start by putting in the name of the borrower, and then we'll put in his mailing address as well. And this is a fake person, just in case you were wondering. And if there were multiple borrowers, you would check this box down here, but just to keep it simple, we'll just say it's between two people in this case. And then who's lending the money? We're going to say a person, and we'll say it's me, I'm the lender. And then again, if there were multiple people that were acting as the lenders together, you could check this. But again, I'm not going to go there here. And then will John Smith have to pay interest on the loan? We're going to say yes, this is an interest-bearing note. And then what's the interest rate John Smith will pay? You can really put whatever interest rate you come up with. In this example, I'm going to say 8%. And then beginning date, we'll say it's going to begin on January 1 as well. And also keep in mind, if you ever get hung up or stuck on any one of these questions, perhaps you just don't know how to answer it or you don't understand what you're supposed to be putting in here. At any point in time, you can enter in a little question over here. Just type in, just say whatever your question is and then click that ask button and it will go directly to an actual attorney and they will respond to you with some kind of feedback on how to complete the document. So you're not necessarily on your own if you're filling out a promissory note through RocketLawyer. You can get help. And usually I think you'll find the explanations they put here are pretty helpful. Like it's pretty rare that I don't understand it after reading that. But if you do find yourself in that situation, you do have access to attorneys through this site as well. So in this case, if the promissory note is not paid by the due date, will John Smith be charged a higher interest rate on the remaining principal amount? So basically, is there some kind of a penalty as a result of not making that payment? And in this case, we'll say, sure, yes. And then what will the default rate be? I don't know, we'll bring it up to maybe 9.99%. And then how will the promissory note be paid? We're going to say in installment payments of principal and interest. That's probably the most common way that people do it. But if you wanted to have due on demand, you just get it all whenever you demand it. That's one option. Or you can set one specific date at which you get paid everything. So, maybe 3 years from now, you get all of it, but they don't have to make payments in the meantime. Or installment payments of interest only. So the principal balance doesn't go down, but they do pay you that interest income. So a lot of different options. This top one is usually what I do, so that's what I'm going to go with. And then what are the details of the repayment agreement? I'm going to say that this loan is going to be paid off over the course of 5 years. So if we're doing one payment a month, that would be 60 payments altogether. And then balloon payment, that's like if the loan was going to amortize over 15 years, but we were only going to extend these payments for 5 years. So basically at the end of the 5 years, there's still a lot of principal owing. So at that point, I would enter in what the balloon payment would be. In this case, I'm not going to put a balloon payment. I'm just going to have it be amortizing with principal and interest over 5 years. So that's how I'll handle this. And then should an amortization schedule be included in this promissory note? That's one of the really nice things about RocketLawyer is that if you do choose the option that I'm doing, or whatever you're putting in there, it will actually calculate what those payments are and it'll create an entire loan schedule of those payments that need to be made, just so there's no confusion about how much needs to be paid, what those payments are going to, principal and interest, and when those payments are due. So I'm going to say yes, definitely in this case. And then will a late fee be charged if an installment payment is past due? I'm going to say yes, absolutely. For me, I'll just say a late fee of $25. It probably sort of depends on the amount of the loan and what you think is appropriate. But if you want to do a fee, just put that in there. And then when will the late fee be charged? I usually say like 15 days after the due date. But if you want to do 10 days, you could do something like that too. Or, whatever you want, obviously. And then will John Smith receive a discount if the promissory note is paid off early? I'm going to say no, but if for some reason you want to give an incentive to your borrower to hurry up and pay you off sooner, you could say yes and then specify what that discount would be. Can early payments be made on the loan without penalty? In my case, for my situation, I almost always say yes. That's fine if they pay it without penalty because I'd rather be paid off early than not paid at all. So that's what I would do, but again, that's not what you have to do at all. Whatever the situation is between the borrower and the lender in your situation, that will govern whatever the right answer is for you. So anyway, I'm going to click yes here, click continue. And then will this promissory note be secured with collateral, personal property, or real estate? If this is like specifically for a real estate deal, say if you're doing a promissory note with a deed of trust, then you would say yes, absolutely. You're obviously free to say no as well. In this case, I usually use this kind of thing in conjunction with a deed of trust if and when I'm ever using a note. So I'm going to say yes. And then which type of property will John Smith use to secure the promissory note? Personal property, that basically means equipment. So if there was some piece of equipment that you could remove from a property or take and then liquidate to recover from the defaulted amount, that's what personal property is. Real estate is exactly what it sounds like. It's real estate. If the borrower has land or a house or some kind of property that's the ground or affixed to the ground, that would be real estate, or none. So again, I'm going to choose real estate in my case. And then what is the real property being secured by? I usually do a deed of trust, because usually when I'm using this document, it's in conjunction with a seller financed piece of real estate that I'm selling, which if I'm using a promissory note at all, it's because it's in conjunction with a deed of trust. A mortgage deed is another option in some states, but in most of the places where I work, the deed of trust is the one to use. And then when was the deed of trust signed? We're going to say the closing date for everything is January 1. So we'll stay consistent with that. And then what is the address of the real property being held as security? You would just put in whatever that address is. So we'll just make something up here. And then which state's laws apply to this promissory note? We're going to say California, because that's where the property is, that's where the borrower is, and that's just kind of where most of the stuff is. If you wanted to, you could put whatever state you are residing in, so that any court cases have to come to you to get resolved. It's really whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you what the best option is. That's kind of up for you to decide. But so once you got that selected, you would click continue. And then will there be a co-signer on this loan? So in other words, is there going to be another person supporting John Smith to be legally obligated to make the payments? If there is, obviously you could put them and include their information. I'm going to say no, just keep it simple. And then will Seth Williams be able to sell or transfer the loan to another party? So if you ever wanted to be able to sell the note and basically just get paid, that's something some people like to do. I personally don't see why not. It's nice to just have the option. Doesn't mean you have to do it. So I'm going to say yes in this case. And then once that's finished, RocketLawyer will generate the promissory note document for you with all the information you put in there. And as you can see, it's pretty straightforward and simple. This shows us exactly what the language of the note looks like. There's the amortization schedule as well, which calculated all the payments and lists all the due dates. And we can also go ahead and download this. I'm going to download it as a Word document. And also keep in mind, if you want, you can sign this right here digitally. So why don't I just go ahead and do that? And then once you've signed it, it's pretty cool. All you have to do is enter in the email address of the borrower, whatever that is, and then it will send this to them, and then they can sign it digitally. So you don't even really have to print it off if you don't want to. Again, that's totally up to you. But once you've downloaded it, you can go ahead and open it up, and then you can see it right here. Let's change the view of this thing a little bit. And there you have it. I mean, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward and easy. It's not a terribly complicated document. It's got all of the blanks where people need to sign, and it's pretty easy to follow. You just read the information if you have any questions about it. And obviously, since this is a Word document, you can edit any of this if you want. You can just highlight it and delete it and replace whatever you want to. Say if you wanted an attorney to review this for any reason, you could do that. And then down here, we've got the loan amortization schedule. That looks a little messed up. If you wanted it to look a little bit sharper, you could download the PDF version. There we go. So on the PDF, it's a little bit easier to read the amortization schedule. And that's the nice thing, is that you can download it in an editable format, or you can download it in a format that cannot be changed. Say if you wanted to email this to the other party and you didn't want them to be able to mess with anything, this is a great way to do that. So yeah, that's how RocketLawyer works if you want to put together a promissory note. Pretty easy to do. RocketLawyer is a really solid option. I've been using this site for several months now. I found it to be really helpful. They've got like literally hundreds of different legal forms and templates that can be specified based on whatever state you're working in. Pretty much any document you can imagine, it's all here. So if this is something you want to check out, the price is really not bad, especially if this is something you're going to be using on an ongoing basis. It's set up as a subscription. This is the one that I'm currently using right now. And if you want to, you can get a little discount if you pay for a full year at a time. And also just keep in mind, if this is the kind of thing where you only need this for one document and that's it, it's totally feasible to just subscribe for 1 month and then unsubscribe and get your document and be done. If you ever need to come back, it's really easy to do that. So it's not like you have to commit to several years or pay for this for the rest of your life. It's just, you just sort of use it for what you need it. And if it's not useful to you anymore, then you can just unsubscribe. It's pretty simple. I do have an affiliate relationship with RocketLawyer, just for full disclosure. I have a link beneath this video, like I mentioned before. If you click on that and fill out your promissory note
through that link. I will get a small commission if you decide to sign up for the Rocket Lawyer service. But yeah, that's it. I hope this video was helpful to you on some level, and I appreciate your time and checking this out, and hopefully I will see you again soon.